You live every day, you see betrayal, yet you choose to forgive. Your love is strong, but not so long. It just goes on for eternity. And now you've won through your Son, the gift you gave, so that we might be free. Feeling low, and you know, you give me strength and your love. You drown my fears, you dry my tears. The greatest love's from above. Your love is strong, it lasts so long. It just goes on for eternity. And now you've won through your Son, the greatest gift, so that we might be free. Be love is strong, it lasts so long, it just goes on for eternity. And now you've won through your Son, the greatest gift, so that we might be free.
Welcome, everyone, to the Boiling Point podcast. I am your host, JB, alongside Pastor Gavin. This is episode 128, The Life and Death of American Hero Charlie Kirk. Pastor Gavin, this is not the best of circumstances for us to be doing an episode, but we're here doing it anyway.
No, it's very sad, very tragic. I would, in fact, consider Charlie Kirk to be an American hero. And, he was a godly, committed Christian and a real American patriot. And he had a unique gift of being able to talk about controversial issues of our day and just to with logic and reasoning, expose the fallacies and error and ridiculousness of the crazy way that some people on the left think nowadays.
Yeah.
And, I heard him numerous times on YouTube videos and podcasts and various interviews, and I was always impressed with his knowledge and his ability to look at things logically and explain them in a way that people could understand them and confront the ideas that are at odds with America and with godliness, but he did it in such a way that he was firm, but yet he wasn't mean and nasty and rude and arrogant and condescending. Kind of like, speaking the truth in love, like the Apostle Paul said. And, Jesus is described in the gospel as being full of grace and truth. So, in other words, he spoke the truth. He didn't compromise on the truth, but yet he was gracious also. And that's how Charlie Kirk is. And I really feel sad that he's been taken from us. And, this is one of those things where we know that God is so much smarter than we are, that his way is best. Humanly speaking, I don't understand why the Lord allowed this.
Yeah.
But yet he's, who am I to question God? Because like it says in Isaiah, the heavens are high above the earth. So are God's thoughts and ways above our thoughts. His ways and thoughts are above our thoughts and our ways. So he's so much wiser than we are. So we just have to trust the Lord that there's going to be a greater good that he's going to accomplish through this than if Charlie continued to live. So I don't understand, God's plan and his thoughts, but I know that he's right and he's good. And so, it's up.
We're going to talk a little bit about that later in the episode and maybe speculate a little bit as to why. We don't speculate very often, but that's really all we'll have to go on when it comes to God's reasoning. Sometimes we don't understand. So, but first, before we get into that, and we're also going to have a link available in the comments if anybody would like to join us. We will be having, if people want to hop in and talk about it, we will have that. But first, let's talk about some of the facts. And then Pastor Gavin, you and I can go over anything that, if you think anything needs more follow-up, please stop me and, let me know. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through this timeline. Okay. That's where we're going to start with what we know. Okay. At 12:23 p.m. local time, that's local to where they are, on Wednesday, September 10th, Tyler Robinson fired from a rooftop, striking Charlie Kirk in the neck. He was pronounced dead a little after 2 p.m. He was shot with a Mauser bolt-action rifle, 30-06 bullets. I'm not sure of the distance, how far he was away. I didn't put that in my notes.
Between 150 to 200 yards is what I understand.
Okay, thank you very much, Pastor, for that. So 150, 200 yards, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes also. At 10 p.m. Thursday, September 12th, and this is just 33 hours later after the event happened. The suspect was arrested by the FBI and local law enforcement after leads from various sources, including his close friends and family. Now, the bullets also had LGBTQ plus rhetoric written onto the bullets, and we'll get into what those said here in just a moment as well. Now, during the rest of this conversation, Pastor Gavin and I are not going to use the shooter's name again. We will use the term shooter or suspect or something of the equivalence, but we will not say his name again, nor am I going to show a picture of him on my podcast.
Yeah. And he is like the Bible uses the term, a son of Belial, someone who's wicked and foolish.
Yes. And we do know that he was a transgender person. Of course, this is not the way he started out. It wasn't until he was college that he started to get radicalized. We'll save that conversation likely for a whole nother episode. But he, from what I've understand, his friends and family, this is not the way he started out. It wasn't until he started going to school, college, that he started really changing who he was and that type of thing too, which again is a topic for a whole nother episode about college and the wickedness that is potentially running rampant through there, which also just adds to why this happened to Charlie Kirk. Because that's where he focused a lot of his time and effort, was in colleges of America, talking to the next generation, those who are about to graduate and go into the workforce, have families and all that. That's who his main target demographic was. That's who he went after.
Mhm.
All right, let's talk for a second about the rhetoric on the bullets, Pastor. The fired bullet had the following inscripted onto the bullet. This is the fired bullets, and I quote. And this one is the one I don't understand. I didn't have time to look it up, but and I quote: "Notices, bulges, OWO. What's this? Question mark." That was on the fired bullet. I didn't have time to look up that one, so I don't get that one personally.
All right. Now, this is just my own personal interpretation of it.
Okay.
I could be totally wrong, but it says notices bulges, OWO. What's this? Notices bulges. I think what that's referring to is that his allegation, I guess, is that Charlie Kirk was aware of transgenderism and opposed it. So if there was someone who is actually a man who's trying to dress up like a woman and declare that it's a woman, you can notice the bulges in the groin area and know that it's it's actually a man dressing up like a woman. So
Okay.
I think that's my guess. Notices bulges, OWO. What's this? So I don't know what OWO is.
Okay, but that's reasonable. That's completely reasonable. It's certainly better than anything I had. I didn't even know where to begin on that. So thank you for that. I apologize. We are live, and I likely will be having some messages and stuff come in. So just bear with us during this episode here. Let me go back to it. Now there was other bullets. Okay.
The next
the next one had
hey fast.
Yep. Go ahead, Pastor.
Yeah, hey fascist catch.
Yep.
So I think that's easy to figure out
Yes.
what that means. They accuse Charlie Kirk and people like us of being fascists. And fascists are strong nationalists, which we are. We love America. But fascists, they're very authoritarian, and they don't believe in liberty and freedom like we do. And fascists belong in a very strong, powerful, authoritarian central government. And that's not us at all. But they mislabel people like Charlie Kirk and like us as fascists, because if you can't really win the argument on actual logic and reasoning, then a popular tactic is to call names.
Yes.
I remember when I was a little child, occasionally I would get in a little fight with, maybe my younger sister or with a neighborhood kid. And you can't win on logic when you're saying ridiculous things. So you would call names. And that's what the left does. So this, in my view, calling Charlie Kirk a fascist and calling Trump a fascist, it's a big, fat, hairy lie. It's just name calling and mislabeling, misidentifying someone. So people that are so upset about misgendering someone, why aren't they that upset about mislabeling us? And people like Charlie Kirk, that he's not a fascist. He believes in freedom and liberty.
Yes, he does. He believes in God, in freedom and liberty.
Yeah.
And that is exactly why he was, well, we're going to get into why we think the reasons he was shot here in a little bit also. But there's another one. There's another bullet that had some inscription on it. And Pastor Gavin, you can correct me if I pronounce this wrong or get this wrong, but I believe it said, "Oh, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao."
Yeah, I have no clue what that means.
I have that one, Pastor. So I'm glad that you were kind of able to offer something for the first one, because I actually looked up what the second one is. It is actually an anti-fascist song written in Italy after World War II. It is now used by the left wing as an anthem and used by the left wing to mock right-wing elected officials. Apparently, when the Italian was it prime minister or president was recently elected, they all were like saying that song at him while he was giving his speeches and etc. And then, there is one more after that one. I forgot. There's another one that says, "If you read this, you're gay." LMAO. Now that one I know That one stands for, and if you'll, my apologies, Pastor Gavin, for the language, but for accuracy, it stands for laughing my ass off.
Yeah.
So those were what was inscripted on the bullets. So those are the facts that we know. Okay, that's all of the facts that we currently have. I'm sure the FBI will be releasing things, in the coming days as they do investigations and continue to run down leads. And before we get into the FBI, or no, not before we get into the FBI, I want to talk. I just want to say that the FBI did, I think, a really great job. 33 hours is an amazing time frame to be able to track who this was and to be able to get them, I think.
Yeah, I'm thankful. And in my view, once he's tried and convicted, I believe he should be executed. And I would love to see his execution broadcast on live TV nationwide.
Yeah.
In fact, not worldwide, because he needs to be made a real example of, so that this kind of nonsense stops. I mean, people should be able to have controversial views and be able to speak them in America and not be murdered because of it.
Yeah. And I would, Pastor, that I kind of had changed my opinion on capital punishment, in the last couple of years, because I don't like that. I don't want the state to have the right to execute one of its citizens. I think that's a slippery slope to have. But in this case, because I don't think this is anything other than an act of treason.
Yeah.
So I don't care that Charlie Kirk wasn't an elected official. He wasn't a soldier. I get all of that. But in my opinion, this assassination, it was a political assassination, and I believe it is a form of treason. So I think he should be put to death, definitely. And I would also love to see I don't know if I want to see it, but I think it should be a public execution. Absolutely. I think it should.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, there's a piece of information that I came across.
Okay.
And I just want to share it with you and our viewers. Now, this is posted on Truth Social. And someone by the name of Brooke Singman, I don't know who she is, but she said the Kirk assassin, we won't mention his name, lived with his transgendered partner.
I just found that right. Yep, right before. I'm not sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. I just found that right before we go in. Please continue. I'll let you read it because I didn't get a chance to really look it up. But go ahead.
Okay, now if this is true and this is correct, evidently he lived with this thing for a while, but then I've heard other reports that he lived with his family. So
no, I heard he did live with a roommate. But I also had also heard that his roommate was one of the reasons people they interrogated that led them to him as well.
Yeah, could be. So I don't know if it's true that he lived with his family or not, or maybe he lived with this thing for a while and then temporarily was living with his family, or I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, there is some great, or perhaps both. Maybe he was doing like a commute where he was kind of doing both, because there's clear evidence that he was at least at home recently or something with his family, and then there's also evidence that says he was living with this other person.
And maybe his official address. Also. Yeah, maybe his official address was at his parents' house, but he actually lived with this thing.
Well, college kids go home and do laundry on the weekends.
Maybe, yeah. So, the individual, that was his roommate is a male transitioning to a female.
Yep.
And is fully cooperating with the FBI.
Yep.
Sources tell me the FBI has texts and other communications between Robinson and the individual that helped the FBI authorities solidify that Robinson was indeed the shooter.
Yeah.
So I've read other there was like a post. I've read other sources that seem to confirm some of these details.
Yeah, I had also heard and read about that as well. And I also, in my research, they were saying that he had lived with this person as well. So
Yeah.
I didn't get to go to into the full story, the headline that was released today, but I found it when I was doing my research yesterday and the day before for my episode that
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
we found out who it was, that he did have a roommate or some kind of living arrangement or something with this other person
Yeah.
who's
So
also
so evidently the shooter was a man, but he was living with a tranny, a man that was trying to turn into a girl. And so maybe that's what motivated him to,
what I
take
find.
out Kirk, because Kirk, was clearly against that kind of confusion in our culture.
Absolutely. As am I, and I believe
Oh,
you
right.
are also.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like it's absolutely, it's confusion, it's mental illness. That's exactly
Yeah.
what it is. And Pastor
Yeah.
Gavin, we got to be careful. This occurred to me. I mean, I thought about it for a minute. It never really was a full thought, but for the briefest of moments, I did think about, should I keep doing this show? I don't necessarily want to be assassinated, but
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like I said, it was just a fleeting thought for a moment. Like, I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
really want to be assassinated. But then I was like, no, of course I'm not going to stop because of that. But it is a concern at this point, isn't it?
Hmm. Yeah, it is. Yeah. This murder is just a further symptom. Like within the past month, remember in Charlotte, North Carolina, that Ukrainian woman was riding in a train, and the black guy behind her, out of racial hatred, evidently, because he said, "I killed the white woman," he just stabbed her.
Yeah. And no one helped
And
either. How's that?
yeah,
If I'm not mistaken, I
yeah.
believe that it was like several minutes before anybody else on the train actually tried to help this woman.
And see, that's what you find in a culture that continues to progressively remove itself from God and from biblical Judeo-Christian values.
Yeah.
I've heard people older than I am, they would say, "Yeah, when I was a boy growing up, we would take our guns to school." And and nobody shot anybody. And I can just hear some people on the left, maybe anytime there's a shooting, they say, "Oh, we need more gun control laws." Well, criminals are not going to obey the law.
And
Lawless people are not going to obey the law. This comes from the wickedness in the hearts of people, not from the gun. I mean,
also,
guns, like a lot of things, can be used for good or evil. You got evil hearts, you're going to have evil people doing evil things, and that's what happens. It's not godly, God-fearing Christians or MAGA people that are doing this kind of stuff.
yeah, and
It's the people on the left.
it's also worth noting that the highest amount of gun crime occurs in gun-free zones.
Yeah, interesting.
So I think that's something like 85 or 90% actually. So and because
Yeah.
look at schools and just you go look at the stats. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's right around 90%. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, and there's that old adage, when guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns.
Yeah.
And that's certainly true.
Yeah. People don't understand that when you put in gun laws and all you're doing is taking the guns out of hands who follow the law, not out of people who, disobey the law. Now we're going to take a moment here, Pastor Gavin, and we're going to correct some of the stuff that's been in the mainstream media. You'll apologize for my language on the outline, but I have this segment called "Correcting Bullshit from Mainstream Media Nonsense." First of all, Charlie Kirk was not, and I can't stress that enough, was not engaging in political rhetoric. That's one of the things CNN was saying, was that Charlie Kirk engages in political rhetoric. That's not what he does. He engages in public debate with the college kids of America. He doesn't threaten anybody. He doesn't bully anybody. And he gives, all the people in the world the time to speak, and he only his security and stuff only get involved if you're doing things that are threatening, which is why you needed a shooter on a rooftop far away and you couldn't get right up close because he had good security. He was not shot in the neck. He was not shot in the neck, despite what people are saying. He wasn't shot in the neck because the shooter thought it was like he was trying to silence him or any kind of symbolism like that. Okay. The shooter missed. He wasn't a professional shooter. And also staying on that, you don't need to be a professional shooter to pull this shot off. There's no, the hunters do this all the time, every year with their bolt action rifles. They get deer from 100, 200, 300 yards out. It's not unreasonable to think that an amateur shooter or an amateur with a gun could pull this shot off. It was not complicated. It was not overly difficult. It was a really easy shot to pull off. And also the fact that he missed just goes to show he missed, but still got the job done. Just goes to show that he likely was an amateur, but it could also have been the wind kicked up at the last second. It could have been any number of things that ended up where he got shot in the neck. There's no way this shooter was aiming for the neck. He was clearly trying to assassinate him. The fact that he was shot in the neck means that he either just missed his target, which was likely the forehead, or the wind or some other kind of adjustment or some other scope issue or something came into play. He was still able to get the job done, even though he missed. He didn't get shot in the neck intentionally. It wasn't an intentional shot. Nobody who wants to kill somebody will aim for the neck. You always aim for the head or the chest. So
John, I'm a deer hunter. And that's the rifle I use, a bolt action 30-06 with a scope.
Yep.
And a couple of years ago, I shot a buck from it was at least 100 yards away.
Yeah.
But I had something good and solid I could rest my rifle on and take my time and aim very carefully. But I've heard conflicting things about this. I've heard that some people say, oh, it was a shot right in the neck, but others that he hit his body armor on his chest and it deflected and went into his neck. So I don't know.
It's hard to, honestly, I was not able to find an actual video of the actual shot. The internet's really good about taking that stuff down very shortly after it gets posted. And I was busy that day. I might have been at physical therapy when all that was going down. So I didn't even know until after I got home. So I didn't actually get to see a video of it. But the video always freezes right as you hear the shots. The video freezes. But I have seen pictures, and I mean, to me, it looks like just a missed shot, or maybe some wind he didn't account for, because it looks like the bullet hit him in the neck area. It is in the lower neck area. Like maybe he was aiming for the heart and missed, or he was aiming for the head and missed. I don't know.
I watched it.
The picture. Did you actually see the video?
Yeah, and
wow.
I watched it twice. And I think I know where you could find it. I'll tell you then.
Okay, so then if you saw the shot, what are your thoughts then? Do you think it could have hit the body armor and then splintered up into his neck, or do you think?
I couldn't tell. I only watched it twice.
Well,
and it's different than if you're watching a movie. And I was thinking, oh man, that's horrible. I don't think I want that in my brain anymore.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Pastor. I can't imagine.
It was horrible. So I only watched it. It was a short loop. Twice,
yeah, the fact that you watched it twice.
Yeah.
The fact that you watched it twice, I was, wow.
Yeah, I didn't want that in my brain.
No, see, that's what when I was looking for it, I was almost glad I didn't find it, because I didn't really.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah. Okay. So then, all right, but either way, even if he was aiming for the chest, he likely missed. If he was aiming for his chest, he would have hit him center mass, not up by the neck anyway. So either way, the shooter did miss.
What I did see, it just looked like it was right in the neck. I didn't see.
That's what I got from the pictures.
Deflected.
Yeah, that's what I got from the pictures. It looks like he was shot in the neck. And even talking about it, Pastor, I feel sick.
Yeah.
It's sickening.
And John, about our lives being threatened for our views. The biblical principles that we're not supposed to intentionally put ourselves needlessly in any danger, like thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. But if we are in a dangerous situation, then we have to just trust the Lord.
And that's not the same thing, right? Like, I mean, yes, he was willingly putting himself in harm's way by doing this, but he wasn't tempting. He wasn't tempting fate. He had security.
No, he was just doing what God called him to do, and there were certain risks, but no, he wasn't tempting the Lord.
Yeah.
And it wasn't needless. He did have some security too,
Yeah,
but I guess, in this case, it just was not adequate for
yeah,
this situation. And
yeah.
we don't know if anyone else was helping him. I
Yes,
mean, helping the shooter get to his position undetected or what.
yep.
We don't
Let's
know.
go. Let's go back to that for just a second. Correcting some of the mainstream stuff because I'm seeing the
Mm,
videos of one of his one of his security guards. He's adjusting his hat. He's wiping his face. He looks like he's a first base coach giving signals to the guy on second base, or the third base coach giving signals. You know what I mean? I
mm,
don't think I'm going to buy into that. That to me sounds a little. I mean, it's a little bit out there, I think, to think that one of the security guys was delivering signals to this confused individual who shot him from a rooftop. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's likely this guy was just fidgeting, just adjusting himself. It was likely hot. He was standing in the sun.
yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, if you don't think that you're going to fidget, go out there and stand in the hot sun for a couple minutes. Tell me you're not going to adjust your hat or wipe the bead of sweat forming on the side of your nose or pull the shirt away from your chest because you got sweat running down and it's sticking to you. Like,
Mm,
I don't know. He was doing a lot of stuff. It just, I don't know. That to me seems it's a little far fetched to think that this deranged individual, um, all of a sudden had someone in Charlie Kirk security feeding him enough signals like he was standing on second to trying to decide whether to steal third. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like none of that
mm,
seems legitimate to me. So I'd like to, while I don't know for sure, I would just like to point out that seems highly illegitimate. Um, in terms
yeah.
of, I don't think there's enough to support that. Nor
Mm,
do I think that it was an inside job or anything like that. And if you need evidence to that, the fact that the FBI solved it in 33 hours, and I don't care. And the other thing is, people are talking about how all the evidence was on Discord. From his I don't know, his roommate. Let's use that term, Pastor. From his roommate, that he just had all the evidence right there. It was served up on a platter. Well, it wasn't just served up on a platter. Let's be clear about that. It was intense investigation by the FBI and
mm,
by local and state law enforcement. They had to track down these people, and then once they were found, these people willingly willingly cooperated, as they should have. It just goes to show that they're not deranged people. That it was definitely this individual was deranged, um, and it's no, it wasn't just served up. The police investigated. They came knocking on people's doors, and people, rather than trying to get themselves into trouble, likely just cooperated and gave them the evidence. The parents, as we know, or at least we have some reasonable evidence to suggest that they reached out and said, "Hey, we think it's our son. There's evidence," and they handed all of it over immediately. They didn't have to be questioned. The parents worked with them willingly.
mm,
The roommate,
right.
we don't know. We don't know if the roommate worked willingly or if it happened just as a result of interrogation. But the fact is, the investigators investigated, found these leads. Yes, some people reached out, but it wasn't just handed to them. So no, it's not. I also don't believe that it's this big conspiracy or big cover up that was then put on this person to try and make it look like anything other than what it was, which is a sick and deranged individual following
Mm,
on repeated Democratic rhetoric about taking matters into your own hands,
mm,
about hoping these people don't get shot. Wink, wink. Yeah, we see it,
yeah.
Democrats. Like that.
Yeah.
That is a direct result. That's why it's a political assassination, because it was directed by the Democrats, and some deranged lunatic took them up on it.
Right. Yeah.
So I think let's get into talk about. So the mainstream media has it wrong. So if you're watching the mainstream media and you're currently watching us, turn off the mainstream media now. Don't trust them. It's time for you to start looking at what people call them independent media sources, or whatever the term you might want to use. It's time for you to start looking into other places. Don't go to CNN. Don't go to MSNBC. Their Snopes is completely preposterous. All of these places are spinning this as someone who, if he wouldn't have been saying this, wouldn't have been killed. That's how they're all spinning it, and that's just completely ridiculous.
Hmm.
And Pastor, let's talk for a minute before we. Where else do I want to go here yet? Okay, before we get into what I want the final point of the episode to be, before we get into the closing and all that. The media. What's the fallout from this now? You talked about, like, we don't know the reasons why, but you and I are intelligent enough, and a couple of days removed from this, 3 days, 3 days removed from this, there has been something happening in this country now that wasn't happening before Charlie Kirk was killed. His followers have increased exponentially on his platforms. I'm seeing posts everywhere of people who say that they weren't sure or they don't believe. Now they're going to the Lord. I'm seeing it everywhere on social media, not just in a few places. I'm seeing it everywhere now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe Charlie will actually have a greater impact by his martyrdom than if he still lived, because I'm sure there are a lot of people that are going to be looking up, what he said and hear him and think, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Charlie, from what I hear, his testimony has led a lot of people to Christ too.
Yeah, I was a Charlie follower before he died, just so we're clear. I used to watch his videos all the time. And I think, yes, Pastor, I think that this might be backfiring on the left or the evil or the demons who are going crazy about this. This might have done something, and you're right, maybe God allowed this to happen because that's the only way it was going to happen. Think about it. Our president, while he was running for president, was almost assassinated. And yeah, people got up in arms and people got a little bit, but he didn't die. So people kind of shook it off, I think that was a warning shot. And I think maybe, some of us didn't listen. And this definitely, I think, got everybody's attention. It has the world's attention right now.
Yeah.
So perhaps, I don't like always quoting movies, especially in a corny way with real life stuff, but I mean, it fits. Okay. Charlie Kirk is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of today. If you strike him down, he will become more powerful than you ever thought he was capable of. And he's been struck down, and now there's something happening in this country. Now we won't know for a couple of months, 3 or 6 months. Is this going to be a real revival? Did it really reach people the way it needed to? We likely won't know that for a couple of months, because in the aftermath, everybody's hyped, everybody's about it, everybody's posting. We won't know that for, I think, 3 or 6 months down the road. Are people still as committed 6 months down the road? Or is it going to be something that, it happened once and now we're moving on? So I don't know the answer to that yet. And I don't think we will for a couple of months. But I do think it appears to me that they've started something here that is going to backfire. What they wanted to do was try and silence people. I think that backfired. I think what they're going to see now is more people rising up. I think they just sent more people to the Lord. I think they just re-energized free speech. I think that's what I think they accomplished by this. I don't think the evil that are doing this accomplished anything that they originally set out to do. What do you think, Pastor?
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah. And it's the left showing themselves for what they really are. The left is aligned with darkness and with evil. And Jesus, and you'll find this in Scripture, that light is an emblem of goodness and truth and knowledge and purity, and darkness is an emblem of ignorance and sin and evil. And Jesus, of course, he was the light of the world, and he said, this is what condemns the human race and why they need a savior. Men love darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil. And those who do evil hate the light. And, Charlie Kirk stood for the light.
Oh, yeah.
For the truth and for knowledge. And so there's some people that hate the light. And so they hate those who would identify with it.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And one more point I want to get into before we get into the last point, and that is the fact that this is not a two-sided issue. It's not both sides, right? The conservatives, the Christians, we're not politically assassinating people. Only the left side, only the Democrats, only the evil are doing it. This is not a two-sided issue. It's not a both sides thing. It's not a both sides are responsible. Both sides need to tone down the rhetoric. It's not a two-sided issue. It's a one-sided issue. There's only one side out there actively shooting and killing other people.
Right. Conservatives don't act that way, and we don't do that kind of thing.
And do you think now that as a result of this too, that the it's easier to see the evil and wickedness from those, and I mean that from the people who are evil and wicked, it's easier to separate them from even not just us, not just the people of light, but the people maybe even in the gray, maybe the people who aren't all evil but aren't necessarily light either. I think this makes it more clear than ever to be able to show to show who someone is.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of people celebrating this, which is just disgusting and terribly wrong. And there's not even, I don't even have a word for what that is, in my opinion. There's not even a word. Evil doesn't do it just, that's not enough of a word.
Yeah, another word might be warped, twisted.
Warped. I don't think any of, in my opinion, they're all great words, but I don't think any of them work. Like, it's beyond that. Like, it's one thing to carry it out, but to then celebrate it, I think is a different level of all of that. So
evil, warped, twisted, depraved, corrupt.
Yeah, anybody celebrating it right now, they're showing you exactly who they are. Okay, I'm sorry, there's just no way around it. I'm so thankful that some of my friends who are on the left side haven't been publicly celebrating it, because I didn't want to have to start removing people as friends. But that I'm willing to do that because I can't tolerate that. That's unacceptable. If Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or something else or someone else that we didn't like, Pastor, would be politically assassinated, we would not be doing an episode celebrating it. We would not be doing an episode, hey, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. No, we wouldn't be doing that at all. We would be coming on and saying that it's terrible for this country. It's not a good thing. And whoever did it needs to be brought to justice, because whether we disagree with them or not, we understand right from wrong.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so we're not going to burn down cities and start riots.
That's where we go. And thank you. That's perfect segue, Pastor, right into the last one. the George Floyd incident. You should all know that George Floyd died. I know that wasn't released in the public very much, but George Floyd died. He died of an overdose on crack or heroin. I can't recall exactly which it was.
I think it was different fentanyl. And,
fentanyl. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right.
A bunch of different drugs.
Yeah, but he died, and we didn't hear about that. I didn't even know until I saw someone had
got blamed for it. But
and that was completely preposterous, and as a result of something that was completely false, completely fake, for someone who then died a few years later as a drug addict, from a fentanyl overdose. People burned down cities in his name.
Mm-hmm.
They burned down cities in his name for a drug addict and for a story that wasn't even true.
Oh, and then some people were killed. So by protesting what they saw as a murder, they commit all kinds of atrocities. And it's hypocritical.
Yep. But all of this, now Charlie Kirk was just assassinated. And I'm sorry, that's a much bigger deal than George Floyd's BS claims. Okay, a political assassination is way bigger deal than someone claiming they got beat or they were prosecuted unjustly. Any of that, I'm sorry, but when you're politically assassinated, that trumps all of it. Okay, not one city is burning. There's no one out there threatening other people. You've seen vigils, you've seen prayer, you've seen people coming to the Lord. That's the difference between the sides.
Right. Yeah.
One side is burning down a city for a story that's not even true. And our side will have candlelight vigils prayer, and we will band together to support one another.
Mhm.
That's the difference between the sides. If you can't see that at this point, I'm sorry, you're being willingly ignorant. And Pastor Gavin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that immediately, I'm sorry. If you don't see the differences at this point, then you are still part of the problem. That still puts you as part of the enemy. You are still the enemy. If you don't see it, you are the enemy.
Yeah, it would take more on spiritual blindness not to see the difference, and a lack of discernment, a lack of wisdom. Yeah,
I'm still seeing people. I saw somebody today, somebody yesterday. There was one person I've had to remove from my Facebook friends list so far. They posted something, and they said that while political assassination and killing someone is wrong, Charlie Kirk was a racist and a Nazi and this and that, and I immediately unfriended them because that's not someone who sees it. That's not someone who sees it. Anybody who says, "Oh yeah, political assassination is wrong," but you don't need to hear any more than that. The minute they put the but in there, that's all. You can walk away. You can put your hands up and say, "No, there is no but." That is the end, and that puts you at odds. That puts you on the other side. You can't say political assassination is wrong, but no, it is. There is no but. It's just wrong. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
So, and I encourage anybody out there, some people you're not going to reach. And at this point with this incident, I think it's made it clearer than ever who can be reached and who can't be reached. So I think if you've got someone out there who's saying, yes, it's wrong, but you need to unfriend them because they're not going to even hear what you have to say. If you have someone out there who's actively celebrating them, then you probably should just cut all ties with them. That's not somebody you need in your life ever. That's evil. That is straight evil and demonic. That's not just normal being, willingly ignorant, as Pastor Gavin and I like to say. If you're celebrating it, you're under demon possession. You have some evil forces that have attached themselves to you.
Yeah, that's evil, man.
Because Charlie Kirk, celebrate, and even his rivals. I've been seeing videos. That's why I said it's so easy to see the people who can be reached, Pastor, and the people who can't be reached. Even a rival of Charlie Kirk was on a video saying, I don't remember his name. I wanted to write it down, and it's been a stressful couple of days. But he even said, his kids don't deserve that. He has 2 kids. His kids no longer have a father. His wife is now going to be raising these kids alone. That's not okay. It's not okay.
Yeah.
So anybody who's saying it is okay, or anybody who's saying it's not okay, but you're wrong. That's the long and the short of it. You're wrong. That's just the way it is. There is no gray area. Not on this one. There is no gray. Am I right, Pastor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly.
It's either, it's wrong, and you either understand that or you don't. There is no in between. There can't be a middle here.
Yep. And if someone can't see that, I don't know how to help you.
Exactly. I don't even know how would you even start that? Especially someone who's celebrating, there is no way to help them. There is just absolutely no way. There's nothing that you're going to say that's going to change their mind. Mm-hmm. And people who are saying, oh, it's wrong, but maybe there's a chance, but I don't know that there is for them either, because how do you can't say it's wrong, but that's not how this works. That's not the way not the way it works like that.
Well, with man to change their mind, it's impossible, but with God, all things are possible. So only the Lord can change.
You're right. Thank you for bringing that up, Pastor.
Only the Lord. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless
it's not,
God
we can pray.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can pray, but don't waste your time. Don't waste your words, because your words are not going to change their mind. My words are not going to change someone's mind. Anybody who's celebrating Charlie Kirk's death is not watching this and is changing their mind. They're not.
There are a few verses from Proverbs that I just, this brought to mind. There's like a verse that says, "Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou be likened unto him." In other words, some people just they just won't listen. And there's another verse that says, "Speak not in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of thy words." So there's some people that they're such fools that you're wasting your breath to even try to talk to them. And that's what those verses are referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is the way it is.
There's another proverb that says, oh man, it just escaped me.
Well, I can fill in the gap for a second while you think, Pastor.
Yeah.
Because what you were just saying reminded me of another one. I don't know if it's from Proverbs or not, but it says, "Do not cast your pearls before swine."
Yeah, right.
So they
Yeah,
will trample.
Jesus
They will
said that.
trample. Yeah, they will trample your
Yeah,
jewels into the mud, or I can't remember the exact phrasing of
yeah,
it, but
yeah,
it goes along the same lines as that. Jesus tells us that you can't reach. There's certain people you're not gonna reach, and you shouldn't continue to waste your time trying to reach these people.
right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, only Jesus and God can reach those people who are beyond that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's for
Um,
sure.
so, Pastor, what do you think Christians should be doing moving forward now? As Christians, what we have podcasts, we know what we're doing.
Mhm.
And it's been, if anything, it's more important than ever what we do.
Yeah.
So,
Well, one thing is we need to continue to, following Charlie Kirk's example, courageously stand for the truth. And and try to share the truth with others. Now, if they just reject it, there is a point, like you were saying, speak not in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of thy words. Uh, um, Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee.
yeah,
So there, um, just try to stand for the truth and share it and proclaim it. And I think another thing is, don't forget to pray for America, that God would send a revival, and pray for our leaders and for protection on our leaders, especially Christian leaders and guys like, there's nobody like Charlie was, but
no, but there's other ones who do some of similar things
right.
along the lines,
Yeah.
and that's something else too, Pastor. All of the things that you said, but also support the people who are still doing it. Not just us. I mean, of course, support us. Give us a like. Please share it out. But it's not. Don't just support us. Go support others who are doing it too. It takes everybody. There's no reason you can't support more than one show. You know what I mean? Share out more than one show. So go to these shows, give them likes, share them out. We say it in every episode, Pastor. And, it's not because, yes, of course, it helps us as a company grow and continue to do things, of course. But it's more about, spreading the word. If people aren't out there sharing it, then we're not going to grow. We're not going to reach any more people. We're not going to reach that person, so that's what it's about too. It's about spreading the word, spreading the truth, and spreading the gospel.
Yeah.
And that only comes to you, the viewers. If you don't share out the content, and I don't mean just from us, from whoever, if you don't share it out, then we won't grow, we won't prosper. That's the way it is. And right now, it's more important than ever than just to support the big people. Don't just support the Steven Crowders, the Ben Shapiros. Support even the smaller guys. You have to, or else what could happen? What can happen? So that's my advice for everybody, is to make sure you support everywhere you can. Share, like it. That's all you have to do. It doesn't take much to be able to help spread the word. Just a simple share, a simple like helps the algorithms on Facebook and YouTube and Rumble, reach more viewers. So that's what it's about. It's about the algorithms. It's about manipulating the algorithms so that we can reach more people and spread the gospel and spread the truth. I think that's the end of my notes, Pastor. Do you have anything? I think I'd like to have you. We talked about doing a prayer, so I think I'd like to let's do the prayer, and then I'll get into some of the closing stuff, and then we'll close this episode out.
Okay, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you in Jesus' name. We thank you for your work of grace in our hearts and in our lives. We thank you for Charlie Kirk and his life and ministry, and we don't understand why he was taken from us at such a young age. But Lord, we trust your wisdom and your plan in allowing it. And we thank you. You've received him into your eternal kingdom, and he's safe in your arms. We pray for his wife and for his children, that you would just strengthen and comfort and help them. And then we pray for America. You would send a revival. And Lord, if you would see fit to use this very incident to spread your principles and the knowledge of your truth and Charlie Kirk's influence, we ask that would be done, and that you would use it to spark fires of revival in our country, that we would turn back to you. And we thank you for these things. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. The song you were listening to at the opening, if there was anybody rewatching this, going through the rewatch or anything like that, the song was Marcus Fredrickson. It was a song Free. That's what we're going to start doing for some of our live episodes. We're likely going to play one of Marcus's songs at the opening while we start the live stream, get it shared out, and get everything set up at the beginning. So that'll be standard operating procedure for live episodes moving forward. Check out his music, reverbnation.com/Marcus Fredrickson, and share out your favorite song and tag us in the post. And of course, I'm wearing, coincidentally, I don't have my seat raised up high enough, but I'm wearing the First Amendment apparel, our First Amendment apparel for today's episode. It was not an accident that I chose the First Amendment t-shirt to wear on today's episode. So make sure you can check out our storefront, bonfire.com/store/The Boiling Point Podcasts. I'll put the ticker up underneath. And pick up some apparel. All that money gets fed right back into the podcast for our yearly operating budget and everything. And yes, we do have a yearly operating budget. So buying from the storefront, and like I said, even if you don't have the money, or even if you don't want to, share it out, hit the like button. That helps us as well. Check out Pastor Gavin on YouTube. He has his own channel where he delivers his sermons, powerful sermons, and he has many, many of them. So make sure you check him out on YouTube. I didn't check today, but we had him closing in on 110 subscribers, and we want to keep getting him a little closer to 150. So go subscribe to him. And check out The Humankind on Facebook. That's the apparel company that was started in memory of Marcus Fredrickson. So make sure you go check that out as well. And we're going to give one more shout out to Zattarelli's Pizza in Lemoyne. Great, good Christian people running a very nice, good family business. So make sure you go, and they're not a sponsor. We're just giving them a shout out. Something that we're going to be doing is shouting out local small businesses this winter, and then, going into the next year, we're going to start shouting out some local small businesses, even if they're not sponsors. And the Zattarelli's in Lemoyne is run by really great people, and they're excellent. So go and patronize their store. Go pick up a pizza. Go buy a slice. Stop in and see them, and tell them that the Boiling Point Podcast and JD sent you in to pick up some pizza. Pastor Gavin, is there anybody you want to shout out?
No, just good day to all of you, and thanks for joining us.
Yes, absolutely. And for 5 seasons, I signed off both brands, the Boiling Point Podcast and Mayhem Media. I signed off with the phrase, "and that's the end." And I did that for 5 years in light. And this is something I was thinking about before the events with Charlie Kirk happened. And that just, I think, solidified it. So our new ending to our new shows, that will be the way it is. Thank you for tuning in. This is not the end, only the beginning.